Hi, everyone. Welcome to another segment of the Kathleen Francis Show. And I'm Kathleen Francis, your host for the day. And once again, we're going into a further exploration of what it means to be human in these very challenging times. I'm coming to you direct from Sedona, Arizona at Humankind Center. And I suggest all of you check it out because there's so much here that you can find that will be of use to you. So we continue to find ways to access more of who we are and locate what might be useful to us on a personal level. So today's guest is here, and he's got an unusual list of things that he is and what he does. And so with that, please let me welcome Dr. Joe Vertino.
Hello,
Hi,
hello,
yeah.
hello. Yes, I'm honored. Over the past few days of my, kind of like the seasons, we think of like, they call it like falling forward, right? You know, that saying, I'm falling forward in my life. And my purpose is, as a spiritual guide, healer, author, and musician. And that phrase has been coming up of I'm honored, which is a lovely combination. I've also been telling the story being a Reiki master, which is the modality of energy medicine, that it was founded by samurai, that Dr. Mikao Usui was born of samurai. So I've been, I guess, a cool intro, I'm honored, so yeah, awesome.
Now you hold the doctor label or credential, and what are you a doctor of, Joe?
So I put it, and I'm still kind of in the finagle process in the sense of the demand for someone like me as an expert in the field of medicine, that's what that title is, but it's not a PhD, and that and we do know the person who founded Reiki as Dr. Mikao Usui. So that's my quick and short, get it out of the way truth of it. So that's what you're looking at. So certainly not trying to be disrespectful of any kind of realm or label or expertise in our world, in particular the realm of PhD and doctorates, but mine is not that. But being an expert in the field of medicine, that title, is all about how you serve everybody. So there you go. There's the explanation of that. And I'm still trying to figure out what maybe would be the exact way of expressing that title-wise. So if you have any advice,
Let us know.
Yes. But.
So is that your primary use of your modality for your healing work is your Reiki master? And is that what you use to perform healings for people? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So we all have, we could say, especially experts, have the right word is actually modality, meaning the mode in which you conduct yourself as an expert. So mine is Reiki. And there are, now this is, I guess, a very cool, interesting, we could say fresh thing for people to listen to and hear after we kind of just wrapped up our intro together. That just being Reiki, how does that work? Because Reiki is what? Well, isn't that just energy sessions in the sense that someone lays down, whether in person or in China, like distance or in person, and basically you do a half or full session, doesn't require physical touch, personal and confidential, exchange of words and such. Is that it? No, because if that's my modality as an expert in the field of medicine, who's also a spiritual guide, an author, and a musician, what ties it together is this affirmation that everything that I do is healing over myself and my life. So if I'm doing a guided meditation in Peru someday, that's still technically Reiki, so to speak, because Reiki is omnibenevolent, right? It's good for everybody. It's incapable of causing harm, and it is healing to every living thing. And that's kind of reminds me of the fifth Reiki principle, which is just for today, I will be kind to all living things.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Because, so many people are familiar with the term Reiki, and there's an assumption that Reiki is a hands-on energy healing modality, but I like the fact that you're giving some insight about Reiki itself. So I would love to hear a little bit more, since you are a Reiki master.
Yes. So specifically, so you mentioned insight and my eyebrows went up, but to make sure I'm bullseyeing what exactly you're interested in, can you say a little bit more? As you said, generally Reiki in combination, and then is there something else in there?
Well, basically, I think that a lot of terms in the spiritual arena where we use certain things as a healing modality for someone, which, that's another whole side avenue of exploration about healing and what is that, and are we not all healers, and how do we know that we're a healer, and what evidence do we have? Because there are people, certainly, and I'm giving a little shout out to Hurley, Wisconsin, my relatives back there, because they keep me grounded, so to speak. I mean, I was the escapee from the family, and I have kept them confused for many years. So basically, there are many people that are certainly in our conversation and we understand each other, but just as many people who this is a foreign language to them. And when we say we are a healer, well, what evidence do you have that you're a healer?
Absolutely. Yes, let me start. And as an author, I can be very run of the mouth or run of the hand, and so I don't mean to shut down your expression at all, especially about, we could say, maybe the most important kind of channel, right, or avenue or topic, right? But yeah, let's go with that. Yes. So in that way that I'm already at a certain place in myself where other people, even if they're millionaires and have a lot of children and are older than me, might not ever, the saddest fact of that would be that word, ever, get to. That there's a certainty and along with a passion that's present in myself. I guess I could say, as a Zen Buddhist, someone who considers themselves a follower of Christ and who believes in God and is not hidden away like a monk, but is the opposite of that. That God, I see God's will as pulling me away from being secluded. So, in that way, that I'm safe to say, over myself, that Reiki is something that I know is incapable of causing harm. That it's a tradition that we can say wants to have everyone in it or around it or friendly with it or know about it. And in that, you can start to sense, even if you don't do that today, so to speak, or take steps in that direction right now, knowing that hearing those words is what really matters, that we're included. Because what we're doing, for example, to introduce my kind of, maybe we could say my top shelf career applicability is something called satsang. Satsang is Sanskrit, which is Indian language. It means communion with truth. So communion with truth in that way that we have to recognize, maybe we could say recognizing that there is a truth that's existent first to commune with it. So maybe what you're hearing right now, very passionate and someone who's very certain, right? And what they're speaking about is we could say maybe healing, to your root chakra. There's a wound of belonging, that like bullying. I have a book on the reform of the education system on my website and Amazon and Barnes & Noble. 327 pages, beautiful maroon book. And that bullying causes that wound, this belonging wound that, is very serious. And now that can start to be healed even. Not to say it's another time about my own speech and its ability to heal anyone. But that we're included, I think, is the point of this answer, So, yeah.
So basically, when I looked at your website, what is the website?
It's joevertino.org. JOEVERTINO.org.
And then when you opened your discourse on your website, and I love to do this because I feel it's really important. Once you become an older person, which I am, you're not yet, but when you can connect the dots of your life and starting with your childhood, I think it gives the wisdom and insight to who we are and what we can relate to others. That's primarily the purpose of whatever I do on my podcast is to offer insight to people. And you talked about your early childhood, and I certainly related a great deal to what you said, because you said that you were someone that sat quietly and observed. I had adults telling me the same thing, that I would sit there like I was staring off into space, and you called that connection to the one or to God energy, or we all have different names for the monad and the all that is, but the names don't matter. We have that sense of what that is, that place that I have been, and I'm assuming you have too, where there's no language, there's barely even any pictures, but there's that essence. And I experienced years ago that the Brahmins talk about that single breath of God, that, and I could hear it. So you call it, what did you say when you opened it, when you were a child, that you were with the true self? Was that the term?
Yes. Yeah, let me share. Yeah, so when I was a kid, I got into the habit after acquiring 5 years of life. And I had my own room, and I had my own mom and my own dad and a sister.
And a good childhood, unlike a lot of
spiritual. It was
spiritual
absolutely wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of my parents, so to speak. And I have no confusion about it forever and ever and ever, that I had an absolutely wonderful childhood. And I had my own
Which is
room.
rare.
What's it say?
Which is rare. Most people have trauma.
Yeah. I mean, we can, yeah.
So in your youth, in your very early years, you recognized that, or they recognized that you were a different child because of your calmness, the ability for you to simply sit and observe the adults around you. And I remember things before I could speak. A lot of people don't have memory from their early childhood. But I think that it's important for us to have those early memories, because this is how we came in a pure state. So that was what I was kind of after, was that terminology that you used, the true self or something of that nature. And I think that, we that are the seekers, we're seeking our enlightenment. I certainly have chased it. I spent 6 months in India. I've done it all. I've done Nanyo, Rengekyo. I've been every religion that I could get my hands on. And what I've come to understand is that if we're really chasing enlightenment, we already are. We already always were. And what the process is removing that which it is not. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
When I was a child, kids fall into habits, right? When you're particularly at the age about 5 or 6, and you can move your limbs pretty quickly without looking around or anything that's going on. And you get into patterns, like it's a place or at a time of day, or make sure this person isn't there, and you turn this way for a second and then look over here and think about making something like da-da-da-da, right? So you get into this almost like, I call it like a habit, but I'm sure psychologists would give me a serious eyebrow, right? If they were here, that's a serious, whatever you're talking about, you don't know what it is, but we're doing it serious. Right, something like that. So anyway, so when I was a kid, mine was maybe the simplest thing, or even the simplest, not to say the most profound, because that's insulting to the other kids. But yeah, so I would go up in my room and I would have my carpet, and I would put my butt down and I would put my head in the air, and I wouldn't particularly close my eyes. But I would do this, and it became a serious thing. And I was in a place of resonance with it, we could say, just pure being, which is the answer I wanted to give instead of the words true self to what you were inferring or asking.
Yeah, pure being. I think that was the term you used.
Yes. And then what happened in my heart was a contentment.
Explain that a little bit more, Joe.
Yes. And we're talking about pure being, and that the point of this spiritual guide aspect of my life that obviously relates to kind of the everythingness, thus the hands above the head movement. But, yeah, that basically there's a calling that can't go away. You know? So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Your Italian is showing because I do the same thing with the hands. It's fine. It's good. So, getting back to your Reiki healing,
Sure.
have you seen, what can you say in terms of your ability to heal someone? And what are they physical healings? Are they emotional? Are they all of the above? What kind of demonstrations have you experienced so that, you know, especially those people that go, oh yeah, everybody's a healer, come on, right? What can you speak to that? Let's say that someone has a specific illness. A physical thing is probably more easily identified. Have you seen direct demonstrations and proof of your ability to heal them? And I often felt that it's a two-way street. Whoever has an illness, that they have to participate at least 50% in order for that healing to occur. So I don't know what kind of spaces you've been entering, but I can tell you the spiritual experiences that I have been gifted with, and I will say gifted with, through my own pursuits, I will also say, I put myself in a position for these occurrences to happen.
Yeah.
I've been in a better place. And I can't help but yearn for those things. And, you know, that's what I am suggesting. Can we possibly see how that relates to what you do?
So to me, and we could say to nature even, in the sense of the impulse of it, you know, of nature, that there's a reason that there isn't a stagnancy or blankness in us, even if we are, you know, potentially a bad person or are overly confused, that there's still an energy, a momentum, a pull. Now, in my first book, My Own Religion, The Power of Love, there's a chapter in here called The Pull Towards God. That pull, right, is something that we can agree upon, right?
When you say that pole, what,
Yeah.
what pole are you talking about?
The
Dr.
only
Joe?
one.
The one.
Yeah.
With all the names and all the religions and all the Alda.
Yeah.
But it's
I
the
mean,
all that is.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, I like, you know.
I kind of
yeah.
like that, My Own Religion.
Yeah, I can explain that. So the title, this is a manifesto. It's my first book. So My Own Religion is this book. It's interesting. So I started with the second one, the reform of the education system. And these are juxtaposed. So this one is all about collective progress in the sense that our mind and pure rationality, and then that resulting in or being kind of couched in every single word of this book that is and only will be the reform of the education system. Then this one, My Own Religion, The Power of Love, is a manifesto that I like using the word relevant for, but the attention is only possibly on yourself. So the opposite of collective, right? Like the reform stuff, right? That it's just you and your business forever and ever. And it's called life. And every possible experience, right? Or kind of like, what would that be? Like every kind of pool that our water of attention and experience could dwell in, I think is a cool one. So yeah, for examples, I have, this one is about devotion with Hanuman on the cover, which is a monkey-faced deity of Hinduism. But the thing about it is, in my language in the books, none of it is like excluding you. None of it is excluding you. It's not like, yeah, rip off your scab on your arm so that the rest of you can enjoy this chapter in this guy's book. No, all of you exactly as you are right now is allowed to be, and that's the root of the book, that acceptance and understanding of life. And then I have the Reiki Bible, A Guide to Reiki Living, which is available as an ebook and is getting printed. And then I'm writing one called The Unassuming Nature of God.
Oh, that's a cool title. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you talked about, good people, bad people, what I've come to feel is correct is that, because I had a direct experience years ago, that my sense of the all that is, because of course I had a Catholic upbringing, being Italian, and God is all seeing, all knowing, all present, all, right? And I was like, as a little kid, you go, so God is watching me, and what does that mean? How does he watch me and 100 million other people? Those thoughts, as you often reflected in your explanation of your childhood, basically I felt that, and also spoken about the high state of consciousness is boredom. And so the all that is has to be bored. It knows everything, sees everything, is all things. Well, it's pretty boring. And I saw that what happened, this was maybe a projection, maybe it wasn't true, but what I experienced was that the all that is wanted to play a game with itself since it was bored, and it broke itself up into millions of little particles, which is us. And the game is that we have amnesia and we don't know that we are actually, because I've figured this out, if we are here and God was made us, then we are God because we are of it. And so we are an expression of the all that is in a personified singularity, and to experience, because I also saw that the whole planet was like this playing board, and when God forgives even the worst, and you're forgiven and all that, the people that do horrible things, because in that all that is, there's no judgment. You can be the most horrible serial killer and be a terrible person, or you can be a saint. There's no judgment about whatever the experience of an individual is. And that's hard for people because this is a planet of duality, a planet of separation. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're a conservative, whatever you are. You're Catholic, you're Jewish. It's like whatever those separations are that cause us to be in opposition with each other, it's boring, it's divisive, and you end up not feeling good about other people, you don't feel good about yourself. So how do you bring that unity in to, as so many of the people in our ilk say, back to love?
Ilk, I love that word.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God.
You can use it.
Thank you. Oh.
How was that? Did I say too much?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. Okay. So yes, okay. I was going to try and go with the theme. Go with the theme a little bit further of my labels of the four of them. So healer, spiritual guide, author, musician. But we can get to the music stuff also. I have a beautiful album here. It has pieces of tape on it right now, and I just started with this, but just to show off some beautiful art amidst our lives and times and growth, and that we'll get to the answers, as important as that question was. But this is a beautiful example of trusting the universe, that you get to produce something like this for everybody, whether it's just your family or for generations to come. But it's called The Holy Fecundity, and by Dr. Joe Vertino, the spiritual guide, author, healer, and musician, and then beautiful Hanumanji on the cover, the monkey-faced deity of Hinduism, all about selfless service.
Selfless service. Yes. Selfless service.
Can I have or you want
yes, no.
To explain the title, The Holy Fecundity. Fecundity means
a good word.
Fullness.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. So in that way, I like to think of in the music scene, like in Sweden, with this kind of thing that can happen that's really just a psychological phenomenon of the human experience called depression. But basically that and it gets linked or even blamed, which is probably the worst, blamed on music, but the music scene, to use Sweden as an example to kind of get my point out there. But basically that it's almost the opposite feeling that can happen of the holy fecundity. Right? So, as a Zen Buddhist, as a spiritual teacher, as a healer, my job is to end what? Mara. Mara is the root of unnecessary suffering. So, that opposite of the holy fecundity, the holy fullness. The holy fullness. So what does that have to do with music? Is music kitchenware where we're holding physical contents and bowls? And no, it's music. What's music? Effervescent. So
And frequency.
Frequency, yeah, it's sound. So scientifically, that holy fullness is an everywhere and nothingwareness. Nothingwhere, right? Nowhereness. So yes, basically, yeah, and that's an invitation, to life. It's an invitation to healing, which is a process. Healing is a process.
That's
not,
true. It's not
yeah.
something that is a definitive, okay, now you're healed. It is a process. And I think when you're talking about frequency, what I've come to understand, because I have a boutique and gallery in Old Town Cottonwood. And I invariably, every day, I have some extraordinary experience with people that come in. And I've come to understand that we each carry our own frequency. The presence of us in a room causes an impact. In the entertainment industry, people call it a presence, or they have God, I'm losing the word, but a star will have a quality that they have that it. And if an agent or a producer, director looking for a particular person for a role, they're looking for that magnetism that makes them unique and causes an impact by their very presence. So I think what my experience always happens to be personally is I know that whatever it is, because I've consumed so many extraordinary people and experiences and high-level masters that I've known and high-level people and artists and healers, that I have consumed it, and I consider myself to be all part of what I consumed. So when we seek and gather it, that which we have consumed, we have that presence to offer, and I'm assuming that you as well have done that. So the very frequency of you, when you come into the presence of someone that comes to you for a private session or so on, just your very essence has the impact of healing by your own frequency.
But yeah, so to me, I think that resonance, there's a section of the human being, to use a word, called the spiritual heart that is in need of more recognition collectively.
Oh, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. So the spiritual heart is, if we think of what those two words mean, spiritual meaning a non-physical reality, and the heart meaning just in the middle of us, right, in our center. So in that way that, and that being something that we can kind of like focus on, that we can understand is kind of like its own standalone like object inside of everyone, or something like this, that we can study, and what does it mean, and is this, how can we relate to it? So in that way, I guess we could say maybe that to give maybe the most or highest, right, show off the highest path of life, meaning respect, and in the form of my answer to your demonstration of with your expression about resonance. So resonance, where did it resonate? And what is that about? What is the home turf of where it resonated, right? So in that way, that if it's that being the spiritual heart, that resonance is something that is self-explanatory now that I gave you the definition.
Well, of course, there's been a great deal of study and scientific studies with regard to the frequency that can be imprinted into water And of course, we are, 80% water, each of us. So the resonance and the frequency of healing, there are a good number of water systems that carry certain frequencies for healing. And there's further exploration with that, and finding that, of course, homeopathy is also part of that healing modality, and that a lot of practitioners will use such modalities to assist in the healing of whatever condition might be bothering an individual. Well, when people call you and they look for your book or your music, do you have any samples of music on your website, for instance?
But I have literally at least like 2 hours of just my music on SoundCloud. Not really organized as enjoyably speaking as if this album got to be produced, which might happen sooner rather than later. I made this myself, like if someone's in their basement and they make it themselves kind of thing. Doesn't mean it's not great and wouldn't be awesome for people to experience, but that's just a snapshot of, me right now in April 2026, in Sedona. But yeah, so no, definitely musically, I mean, there's seek and you shall find, and maybe especially with this guy. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite songs. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Alleluia, alleluia. That's how the angels start singing, right? But that's actually one of my favorite songs, and I have a cool drums and sounds and extra voice layers that I just made myself, and it's wonderful and free, and it's for you. There's nothing in between, except for maybe you have to wait till tomorrow to check it out on the weekend, but there's nothing in between you and this experience, of a new person, a new positive influence. So yeah, that's why I exist, and just let it happen. Let me be of service to you. I'm honored, and you won't regret it.
Well, you said something else about, the aloneness, and I know there are a number of people that I know that think that's the best way to be, is to be alone and be with the one. And it gives you an opportunity to have peace, because God knows we love to have relationships, but oh my God, it can be quite a challenge to navigate because of the things we know about all of the interferences of just being a human being, and all of the collective patterning that happen as we navigate through the years of our life. But Joe, as a closing kind of experience, what would you suggest to people right now in these challenging times? What would you offer to our listeners for your input on this?
Input, really quickly, the question is amazing. Input on how to what I'm hearing from almost everyone I know, with one exception, and you know who you are, is the fact that there seems to be a blowing up of people's lives, relationships ending, marriages blowing up, businesses going south, this chaos in their lives that is pushing. You're talking about aloneness.
Well, I'm talking about aloneness in a different context, but what I'm saying is, right now, whatever the energy is on the planet, whatever the stars, whatever it is that is causing this kind of disruptive energy on the collective and on individual lives. I have seen this. Everybody I talk to, I don't know about anybody else, but except for that one guy, his life is just the way he wants it.
Yes.
And he's someone that would be nice to aspire to be like. But the bottom line is, in this chaos, in this disruptive situation, and again, the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and we become this
Oh,
gelatinous.
my favorite analogy
Yes, and some of the cocoons
ever.
never, the imaginary, its imagination cells or something that then reformulates into the butterfly, but not every one of them makes it. And I feel that many of us are in the cocoon, in the gel, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And anything that we can offer to the people who are watching this as something to assist them to navigate the uncomfortable passageway that we're in the midst of, that's what I'm asking from you, Joseph. Dr. Joseph.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. So my answer is, as we wrap up, the most important thing that I've found as a meditation guide, to mention another section of my ongoing needed self, is hope. Is something that I found is the most important thing to focus on or meditate on. Hope. H-O-P-E. Hope. Not enlightenment, technically, not, because you need a body and you need will and you need the whole human experience in order to even attain enlightenment. Therefore, hope in context is the most important thing. Period. Of the path of meditation.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being here with us at Humankind.Center. And you can watch all of our videos at Humankind. And yes, one more time, your
My
website.
name, I'm Dr. Joe Vertino, spiritual guide, author, healer, and musician, being called to serve humanity as soon as possible, as long as possible. I'm 35 and don't have kids yet, and want kids, and want all of you to be better off. And that's it. That's what this one guy is completely about. And how to do that, so to speak, is in your hands, within reason. My website, not several things. One thing, I guess, just the website. And I do my best to smush all of Dr. Joe onto just that one site for all of us. Is joevertino.org. J-O-E-V as in victory, ERTINO.org. joevertino.org.
That's great.
I have my socials on there, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and my one-on-one work. But really, I think it would be people letting themselves kind of go wild, so to speak, with what I'm capable of, anywhere in the world, online or in person, would be it. So books, music, satsang, yeah, so hope you feel better. Hope you feel more secure, tuning in with this, and feel, know that you matter, that there's a reason that this resonance is happening.
That's
and
great.
I am in love with Sedona, and so glad to be here and under these wonderful, colorful lights. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. And you can, I want to give credit to Addison Welch, who has been my guide, and the wonderful Ray Fields Miller, who maintains my website, which is kfrancisinc.com. And of course, we thank so much for the Humankind Center here, John Strayer, who is also supporting us always with his technical support, and the facility that everybody should be part of, and certainly you should be a member of. So with that, I think we have covered everything. My shout out to everybody in Hurley, Wisconsin, my notorious little town of 167 people, something like that. But I do love my hometown. It's my roots, and it's my love. My family's there, and my friends, my classmates, and that wonderful experience of what it means to be raised in a Midwest town where everybody knows your name. And so with that, I wish everybody a wonderful week ahead. Kathleen Francis signing off. Bye-bye, everybody.